I'm really excited for today's podcast guest. I have Caren DeCesaris with me today. I practiced saying her name about 100 times. It's not exactly spelled how you would maybe pronounce it, but it's such a beautiful name. So, Caren, first, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to dance together.
We're going to dance together. We're going to talk about movement. People are like, wait, I'm watching a TikTok now. No, you're still on a podcast, but we are going to talk about movement, which I'm really passionate about. I'm excited to hear Saren's thoughts and her experience about movement, but I want to introduce you to her. So Caren is she's a known self-expression thought leader, a self-made dancer and movement artist. She is a movement leader and content creator. Her main point is draining the well of expression. I'd love to talk more about what that means to you, and bringing along others for the ride. You'll find her dancing in stores, leading movement events for women to connect deeper to their own self-expression and confidence, projecting video installations with her music video visual brand, embodied music videos, and doing embodied photo shoots and custom music videos for women virtually. This is really exciting. And experiences to connect to their own sensuality. You will see her work on Instagram and her website. We'll link that for you in the show notes. But thank you for being here. I know that a lot of people listening, even just maybe hearing the word sensuality or connection or movement or dancing, I'm going to say there's a lot of people who hear those words and they're like, oh, this isn't for me. Or, ooh, I feel nervous. This feels a little bit uncomfortable. Or like, I don't know about this. But for any of you who have started listening to this episode, I just want to invite you to lean in. I just want to invite you to just say, okay, this might feel a little uncomfortable for me. It might feel different than what I'm used to, but there's a reason why you're here. And there's always so much to learn from these conversations. And I'm really passionate about it too. So is there anything else that you want the listeners to know about you?
I think that, mentioning like allowing everyone to be open to these topics, I think it would be a good time to just start with the draining the well of self-expression.
Yeah.
What that means, draining the well of expression. It's funny, like I kind of just came up with that and started writing it, saying it a couple of years ago. And it truly feels like home for me. And I'm so glad that I found this term because one, as a creative, and you know this, like we don't want to box ourselves in. We don't want to box ourselves in because we have so much to express, so much to experience, so much to embody. Not just sensuality and those types of things, but so much childlike craziness, weirdo weirdness, everything. Like we are so dynamic. So draining the well of expression to me means allowing yourself to tap into all of those little corners. So, if you're listening, maybe close your eyes, picture a room. There's so many little pieces of this room, every little corner, every little piece of the wall that we can touch and we can experience. And that's the word that like I really want everyone to hear and feel is experience. Like, wow, what have we not experienced yet that we get to experience as humans? We're in this body, and that's amazing, this tool that is holding us, our essence. And there's so much for us to experience and embody, and so many versions of ourselves to meet, which is amazing.
And what a disservice we do to ourselves when we only notice one corner of the room or one direction, right? We're only looking at one thing in this entire room full of so many beautiful things. And that's kind of how we are as humans. I think sometimes we're like, I am this, or I am not this. And then we stop looking over here to the right or to the left. So I share a lot of videos of my girls on Instagram dancing. And because I think there's so many lessons to learn, obviously the Dance of Growth is the name of the podcast, because I think there are so many lessons, not even dance lessons, right? But there are life lessons that come from watching and paying attention to and like from dance. And as I post videos of them dancing, I can't even begin to tell you how many people say, what would it be like to feel that free? Look how free they are. Look how free. And what they're actually saying, every time I get those comments, what they're actually saying is, I see them trusting themselves. What would it be like to be
Mm-hmm.
able to trust myself? And
Mm-hmm.
so I just think, I mean, we're going to go into that topic, but I think it would be really fun for you to maybe just like start us with a little bit of movement. I use the term like, let's get out of our head and into our body a lot. And I know that's the
Mm-hmm.
same concept for you. And so this is
Mm-hmm.
going to be really fun. If you're listening, that's okay. You can follow the voice commands. If you're on video on YouTube, then feel free to, you can watch the video and see what we're doing. I'm going to unplug for a minute so that I can hear her. But are you good with that? Can we do that?
Amazing. Yeah. The
Okay.
one thing I want to say before I forget is when you
Yeah.
just mentioned trust yourself. Something that I love, I find myself writing a lot is trust yourself with yourself, or I
Yes.
trust myself with myself. And again, anyone listening, using that as a mantra. What if you said that every day? I trust myself with myself. I trust myself
I
with
love that
myself.
so much. And here's the
Trust
thing.
myself.
Sometimes when we say like when we're wanting to trust ourselves, we think that means trust to do something right or wrong, right? It's
Mm,
like there's an attachment to it that I can trust myself if I'm doing everything right. But in
mm,
these moments specifically, like we're going to do right now, there is no
mm-hmm,
right or wrong. It is
mm-hmm,
trusting yourself to be in the moment, to
mm-hmm,
just move, to just breathe, to just be with yourself, right?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Amazing. Okay, I'm
Exactly.
going to
Yes.
mute myself.
Beautiful. Let's do
Let's
it.
do
Okay.
this.
I'm so excited. All right. Anyone, I'm going to do this sitting. Actually, you can stand, but I'm going to do it for anyone that might be even driving or anything. Well, maybe don't do it when you're driving, but anyone that's sitting or standing, you can do this. So, what I want you to do is before you do anything, I want you to just reach your arms up into the air. Take a big breath in and extend, extend. Feel your fingertips stretching. You're still extended, open. And then exhale, let everything out. Bring your hands down to your lap or to your legs, to your sides, if you're standing or sitting. And then what I want you to do is just start brushing off your arms. So this can be a slow, fast, hard, soft brush, whatever you're kind of feeling right now. And then go to brushing off your chest, your heart, your stomach, your back, your hips, maybe even your legs. Just start moving, brushing, almost like you're brushing off any extra, anything that you don't need on you. And then again, take an inhale, reach your arms up, big breath in, extend. And what I want you to do here is open your heart. So bend into your elbows, exhale, look up to the sky and think about your beautiful heart opening. Stay there, keep it open, feel your fingertips soft. Inhale, arms up to the sky. And then take your fingertips to your forehead, drag them slowly down your face. This is just clearing any extra energy. You feel them dragging down your cheeks, your chin, your throat, your heart. And then again, one more time, brush off your arms. And then take your hands in front of you, shake, 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 shake. One more time, inhale, reach your arms up to the sky, big breath. And then exhale, bring your hands to your heart. So one hand on your heart, other hand on top of it. Doesn't matter which one it is. And if you feel like you need a little bit more grounding here, you can take one hand, place it on your forehead. And again, your eyes are closed for this. And what I want you to do here is bring your chin high and relax your shoulders. So you're starting to feel this gorgeous confidence in your whole being. And I want you to know that your body is taking care of itself. It's clearing itself with every exhale you're taking without you having to do anything. Trusting and knowing that you are being taken care of. And again, with your chin high, your shoulders soft, I want you to imagine someone placing a crown on your head. And this crown can look however you want it to look. It can be pink, it can be gold. But they are placing this gorgeous crown on your head. And as soon as that crown touches your head, You feel the spark of power, the spark of confidence, however that feels for you. You know what it feels like when your eyes are lit up. You feel like stars are shining from you, like gold is shining from you. You're confident you. And I want you to fully soak that up right now. I want you to stand in that gorgeous queen power, that soft, subtle, but powerful, gorgeous, strong confidence. And I want you to feel this gorgeous light radiating from you. Everyone can feel it around you. With your eyes still closed, on your next inhale, reach your arms up to the sky. Big breath in. Exhale again, open your heart. So goalposting your arms, bending into your elbows, heart is shining up. Inhale, arms reach. And bring your hands to your lips. Give them a kiss. Mwah. And open your eyes.
I love that. Love it so much. I would actually love to start all my podcasts like that, but I'm going to plug right back in one sec. Okay. Something that I love so much is that was so simple, but it really just changes your whole state, right? It changes how you feel in your body. It changes what's going on in your mind. It's like the easiest way to just have a state change. So thank you so much for sharing that. And I hope that those listening felt something. I hope they were able to do that. And it's a really beautiful thing that you can do for yourself every single day or multiple times a day, even if you are needing it. So thank you. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome. I tell people there's two things you can just easily do anytime. Actually, three. One, just by, people say chin up, right? Chin up.
Yeah.
That's a real thing. Bring your chin up. You soften your shoulders. You feel this automatic shift. Like I can feel a whole difference in my being. Number two, I say physically do this. Place a crown on your head. Again, bring that chin up. You feel this energetic shift. You really, truly do. And three, if you have the space or the room to do this, I always say, you don't have to wear a bathing suit. I like to put on a bikini though and do it. But if you're feeling like crap about yourself, if you feel like you had a terrible eating day yesterday, or you just don't feel good, or there's a man that's like not doing you right, or whatever, you just don't feel great, you turn on Nicki Minaj or like any song, Britney Spears, any song that is just like crazy. Maybe you don't even feel like listening to it. Turn it on and just shake and just like move. Yes. Get a mirror and do it in front of that mirror and look at yourself. And it, again, this topic of being uncomfortable, the more you do that, the more comfortable it gets, the more normal it gets.
I have a mirror in my office, and I had a woman come into my office, and she actually said to me, and it kind of it's across from my desk. And she said, I'm just so impressed that you can have a mirror across the way from you. And I was actually like, it hurt my heart a lot. And also I was shocked, like, that's a thing. Like we have to hide from the mirror, and I do think that, maybe there was a time in my life where it would have been hard for me to I don't know, maybe look in the mirror. And I'm not like looking in the mirror. It's not like there where I'm like, oh, hi, let me look in the mirror at myself all day. I'm actually the kind of person who kind of gets ready in the morning and then I don't even do anything the rest of the day. So there's no mirror like for validation for me or anything. But I just, in that moment, I just thought like how hard it is to be in a body that we don't even want to see, or that we don't think we should see, or that there's something wrong, or that it's not worthy of being seen. And so I really love the idea of doing that in front of a mirror. Maybe for some people listening, standing in front of a mirror and just in gratitude is a beautiful way to start. And then maybe it is progressing to the place where you can actually move in front of a mirror in a bikini if
Hmm.
you like, I just think that can be
Hmm.
so powerful.
Absolutely. I think about when I first started, diving into this self-improvement stuff. It was
Yeah, maybe
probably like
let's talk
12
about that.
about the journey. Okay,
Yeah, I
yeah.
love that.
So it was probably about 12 years ago. I actually just turned 30. I had my 30th birthday not
Happy
long ago.
birthday.
Thank you. And it's so funny because I would like the day before and that day, I just went around asking everyone, how old do you think I am? Because people will tell me 21, 18. Well, 18-year-old said 18. I was like, 18.
You're like, thank
Um,
you.
it's just funny. But and also, and then other people, I have a couple friends that are like, how do you feel about being 30? I'm like, actually, I'm glad to be 30. I feel 30. I feel 30. I'll
That's
be
exactly how
happy to
30
be
was for me.
40.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's an exciting thing to just like, I don't want to be 25. I don't want to be 26. Like I had those ages, but I don't want to be that right now. I want to be 30, I want to be here. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and,
I'm turning
um,
40 this year
oh my gosh, when's your birthday?
in November.
Okay.
So should be fun. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just interesting. It's like, but I remember turning 30 and thinking, finally, gosh, finally, I
Mm,
feel like 30. I feel like,
mm,
I felt like maybe people would take me a little more serious because I had already,
mm,
I was running a company and I had 4 kids and I was like,
mm,
in my second house. And I was like,
mm.
but it felt like, oh, good. Now I'm in a place where it's like, I don't know, more socially acceptable for me to be with where I'm at, which is
Or
interesting.
even just like more embodied. Like it
Yeah.
just feels like you're probably mentally already there. And so just having that
Yeah.
word 30,
Hmm.
it's like I keep thinking about my life, what it's been, and then what it is, what it's moving into. I feel like I'm
Hmm.
completely at a middle where it's like completely different embodiment and everything, but like still even more so myself.
I think that's it.
Um,
When you feel free to actually be yourself. And it
mhm,
does, I feel like that if you are willing to do the work, it becomes more of a priority, but also it becomes easier to do as you get
mm.
older if you're willing to do the work.
Yeah, and I think that whole topic is feels like a lot of pressure for a lot of people these days.
Mhm.
Like there's so much talk around healing and self-growth and blah
Mhm.
blah blah, spirituality, like whatever that means for you. I think really what it is, like at least for myself, is this curiosity of just a curiosity, really. So if we can just continue being curious of,
Yeah.
how ultimately it's a search for peace. We all want to feel this peace.
Yeah.
We all want to feel this love. And that's the same as freedom. I was just talking earlier, I recorded a video about, have you heard of the Course in Miracles?
No, I haven't.
Oh my gosh. You know Gabby Bernstein though, right?
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
Okay. So also earlier in my, like when I was like 19, I started reading Gabby Bernstein and she would talk a lot about the Course in Miracles.
Yeah.
The Course in Miracles, actually it's sitting under my laptop right now.
I love
Hold
it.
on.
Yeah.
It's a giant book, a
Oh,
giant textbook.
cool. Yeah.
And basically it's a like channeled text by this psychologist. And um it's a really complicated book, so I wouldn't recommend getting that book. I might even have to. There's another one by Mariam Williamson. I can give you the name, you can put in the show notes, but that breaks it down. But basically everything, like that whole book comes down to this. And this, if I can only know one thing, this is what I would know. This is what I would choose to know. There's only two things that exist in this world. Two things: love and fear. Love and
Mhm.
fear. Everything can be broken down into love and fear. So, thoughts about ourselves, perspectives, things we're thinking about other people, things we're saying, everything is either love based or fear based. And if we can
Fascinating.
absolutely. And if we can recognize that it's fear based, we can remember, oh, well, fear isn't real. Fear does not exist. Literally, the only thing that is real is love. So we can recognize, oh, this is fear, and we can move back to love. This is like the biggest guiding factor. I don't even remember why I brought this up. I wanted to say something about it, but
When you started reading Gabby when you were younger, this
yeah, you
journey of
said
learning.
something
Yeah.
though that initiated it. I can't
Yeah.
remember. But anyway, this is like a really beautiful guiding thing about like, you know, how can we come back to that state of love more often and more
And
often,
peace. Yeah.
and peace. And I think the peace comes from authenticity in our worlds and our lives. And that comes with being authentic with ourselves. Um, and just allowing ourselves to do that. And I think a good visual is like carving into tunnels is the way I picture it, or we'll explain it. Like if you picture two different tunnels, okay, and both of them are filled with dirt, you can carve into, let's picture one tunnel. I don't know what I was thinking. You picture one tunnel, it's filled with dirt, okay? The more you tap into that, like, so dancing for an example, the more that I allowed myself to like dance in public, I dance in stores like a crazy woman, like Whole
Same.
Foods, wherever. Yes, perfect, wonderful. So, and like when I first maybe started doing that, maybe felt a little weird in my body, but I kept tapping into that, kept doing it, kept carving that into that dirt. The thicker into it I get, the like deeper into the level of expression or the level of connection or whatever I'm getting. So that's with anything. It's like the more you can allow yourself to tap into looking at yourself in the mirror, the more normal it'll feel. And what I was going to bring up about like the beginning of this kind of whole self-growth stuff with myself. When I was 19 or 20, I got in touch with a life coach, which was not a huge thing back then. You know, that was maybe 2000, I don't even know, 12 or something like that. Life coaching wasn't as big.
Yeah.
Somehow she came into my world and she would tell me to, you know, look in the mirror and just say, I love you, Caren. I love you, Caren. Look at my eyes and say that. And I told her, I remember that when I would like look at myself and when I would hear myself speaking, and I know someone listening will understand this and resonate, it feels like two different people.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but it felt like I didn't connect with the visual I was seeing and the voice I was hearing. And the more I did that, like, you know, now I feel like this whole swirl of just one being.
Yeah.
That didn't come automatically. That came with, you know, it takes work, but we can't think of it as work. It's something that is just our life's work, really.
Yeah.
For ourselves.
Something I was visualizing while you were talking about the tunnel is like, I think we all would picture the tunnel like moving forward, like we're going through the tunnel. And how I visualized it is we were actually going backwards into the tunnel. And like we had been going along, like, so say there's like the toddler version of us, and we're like going along and we're like filling up all this dirt that's like disconnecting us from that like innate human that we are, this magical and fun and free and brave and, you know, little child that we are. And we build up all of these like dirt walls behind us. And it's like going back to that person. I was thinking when you were talking about dancing in stores, one time Ella, she's my third daughter. She was maybe 5, and we were at a restaurant and the music was playing really, really soft. But it was background music. And this is so funny because my husband was with her. He had taken her to get some food and they were sitting there and he was just dying because he's not a dancer. He's not movement. He's like not, he would never purposely feel embarrassed, like none of that. But he's sitting there and she's holding her hand or holding her food in her hand. And she is just moving to the music. And she says to him, she said, Dad, how do they expect me to eat my food when I just need to dance to this music?
That's the truest thing I've ever heard.
Right?
Oh
and she's just like moving and he's just dying. He's like, she can't even take a bite of her food because this music is just in her soul and she just is moving to it. And how could they, right? But I mean, can you imagine? We hear music and we want to move, but what do? Stop, hold, freeze, don't. That's embarrassing. People are going to notice you. They're going to see you, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
looking in the mirror. You ever watched a child look in the mirror at themselves? They are
Mm-hmm.
just grinning like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
wow, look
Mm-hmm.
at you. Gosh, I love you. You are
Mm-hmm.
beautiful. Mom, look at my hair. I mean, this childlike behavior is really what we're getting brave enough to go back to.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think it's, oh my gosh, by the way, that makes me want to
Is that
cry.
the
The
cutest
story
story?
about her. I mean, it's beautiful because I mean, I even feel that. I'll be walking down a street and I literally will think to myself, I need to dance right now. Like I just I like how do you contain it? It's
Yep.
crazy. But yeah, no, I completely agree. I think there's, we're children and then we start trying to trying to be what we think we should be,
Right.
and that's a natural thing of the world, right?
Mhm.
It helps us learn who we are even more because it helps us
Yeah.
filter out. It's like dating someone. You date all the wrong people to see what you really want, kind of.
Mm. I love that
And
visual for yourself. Like as we're growing, we're dating ourselves to figure out what we want and what we don't want. But we have to
mhm,
know, we can't just keep dating all the things we don't like about ourselves. We have to
mhm.
recognize that they're not the things that we actually want to allow ourselves to be who we love, right?
Yeah, I literally haven't thought about that until now when I just said it. And I love that
Yeah. No,
too.
no, it's really it's so good and so true. Like I see the memes go around that talk about like, stop becoming the person that you don't even like. Stop being so
Mhm,
committed to being
mhm,
something that you think you should be, but it's like not even a version of you that you even want to be around, that you even care about, right?
I think it's a little scary for some people because they may be so deep into that they don't
Yeah,
even know who
absolutely.
they are.
Right.
And that's okay, right? You have to start from somewhere. Like if you feel like that and you're listening, like you feel like
Yeah.
I don't even know who I am,
Hmm.
you're not alone in that. You just have to start from somewhere. Take little practices that you can, like one, even writing three things you're grateful for in the morning for a month, like just the simplest thing, just do it and then keep carving. We can't do it all at once.
Right. And it goes back
Um,
to the curiosity thing that you said. Start getting
mhm,
curious. If you want to know someone outside of yourself, then you would start asking them questions. You would start
mhm,
watching and paying attention. And we can do
mhm,
that same thing with ourselves. We can start being really super curious, asking questions. What do I like? What do I want
mhm,
to do? What do I
mhm,
want to wear? And I find myself
mhm,
really invested in that. Like, what do I feel like eating today? What
mhm,
do I
mhm,
want to, what color do I want to wear? Like,
mhm,
what earrings do I, all the little
mhm,
details that just go back to being curious about ourselves, who we are, what we love, what we don't love, and also how we feel. I think that's one of the most
mhm.
important things.
Absolutely. I love giving people this practice, and I've done it for myself multiple times. I keep adding to this list. So, you know, this two things. All right. We're not bodies. Like, you're mentioning how like we look at ourselves and we think, oh, we can't even, that person couldn't even look at ourselves in the mirror.
Yeah.
But it's because like as humans, we think we are these bodies, but really we are essence. We are essence. And I think it's when we get to know our essence and remember our essence, then we can feel more free and feel more like okay to be ourselves. So this practice I like to do is like getting to know your essence really. So just like get a piece of paper or a computer and just start typing out or writing out things that feel like you. And it literally could be anything. So my list is an example. I don't even remember it, but right now, if I would list it, it would be pink, flower, dance, sunshine, kombucha, smoothies, like, you know, Pisces. Like, what are these words that feel like you? Like, it could be anything furry, cute rug. Like, really, like, just start listing it out. And that is you. That makes up your essence. Your essence.
Did you see
We are much,
the real trend about that? Like there was
no.
there was a trend a couple months ago that was like the essence of you, and you go through and you screenshot all the pictures that feel like you, and then you put them all together. And
Mm,
honestly, I did it on my page and I got very little
mhm,
interaction and very little feedback, but I didn't even care because guess what? When I watched it,
mhm,
it made me feel so good. It felt so much like
mhm.
me.
Oh my God. Yeah, so beautiful.
I
Like
love that
these
exercise.
visuals. Yeah, these visuals help us. I mean, I'm just so like lit up and passionate about it. It's just this. idea of we have for so long been reliant on the brain and things like this, but like you mentioned it too, feeling like feeling how that's what it is. That's what it's all about. And again, even like that practice we did in the beginning of this, that all is feeling, like feeling could shift so quickly, so quickly.
Well, and our body speaks to us by the way we feel as well. And I think when we turn off that communication of what's going on within our body, because we don't just get to connect in that way, we're like connected or disconnected pretty much, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
like when your body is trying to show you things that are hurting or things that are sick or things that are, like the emotions come through our body. And so I
Mm-hmm.
also think even on not just knowing yourself or being comfortable with yourself, but also being able to hear and listen to what's going on. But I think it's a combination. It is the essence of you. It's not just your body or just the feeling, right? It's like this connection between all of it.
Absolutely. Have, so I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis when I was 18,
Mhm.
and I was really sick with it a couple years after. I had to drop out of a semester of college. Like I was hospitalized for months. I had blood transfusions, blah, 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 blah. And, now present day, I was on infusions for a while, like chemotherapy type infusions.
Wow.
And something just kind of, I never liked that. I do a lot with nutrition and all of that too. And I just have never liked putting those things into my body. And so when I was maybe 26 or 25, I kind of just took myself off of the medication. At that point, it had been a while and I was able to kind of play with that. But now, present day, like last time I got a colonoscopy, um, it barely exists in my
Wow.
colon, like the colitis at all. And I think that that has come from my own presence with my body and presence with myself, and what you're talking about with like being able to listen to our body's cues. You can feel when you're nervous, like you feel this tightness in your stomach or this tightness in your back or this tightness in your shoulders. And that's why also exercises like we did at the beginning, that helps clear and lighten. So I do these sessions mostly virtually. Actually, I love doing them virtually, and they're called meditative healing sessions, which is
Mm.
kind of like what we just did. It's like Reiki. It is Reiki,
Yeah.
but it's allowing yourself to do it for yourself because you're so powerful. And there's so much power. Like even my father, like his shoulders, they're so tight. And I'll just tell him, like, put your hands on your shoulders, soften, feel this. There's so much healing that can come from that. And instead, like we keep blocking, or we don't even notice it or allow ourselves to notice it. Then we end up like in the hospital or with these diseases. And man, body awareness can heal and bring so much to us.
One of my big things was noticing my jaw. I
Mm-hmm.
once I started noticing, like there was a tip that if you just put your tongue between your teeth, how it
Mm-hmm.
allows you to like relax your jaw because you're not going to bite your
Mm-hmm.
tongue, but you will like clench your teeth. And so
Oh, uh-huh.
like whenever I'm feeling anxious in my jaw, I feel it and I'm like, oh, I don't want to feel like that. So I'll just lightly put my tongue between my teeth and it
Mm-hmm.
just relaxes my jaw because that's kind of where if I start to feel anxious or whatever, but it immediately, that physical changes
Mm-hmm.
like the internal state of my body.
Absolutely. I love that.
So as you went through all of this work that you had done, what growth or changes did you see in yourself outside of like that physical story that you just shared, which was amazing as well?
Mm-hmm. Um, so many. I feel like I'm wanting to get the hard lessons. All right. I've had many hard lessons in my life, and most of them are like self-induced. Like I'm a pusher, but in a good way. Like I like to just see, I'm
I have a
curious and I like
sister
to
just like you. She has bright red hair. I'm not going to name any
uh,
names, but I have one just like you.
oh, bright red hair. We'll never know who that is.
Right, right. Hmm.
But yeah, no, I'm the firstborn. Like it's always
Same with
getting
her.
getting all the trouble. But in that trouble or in whatever that has been, there's always been so many gorgeous, 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 gorgeous things that have come from it because it allows me to one, take care of myself even more, trust myself, take agency. This is a word that I just kind of became familiar with in this sense. Taking agency of your life. Like, where can you take agency? Basically, mothering yourself. I think that's really, really important. Like, where can I take agency in my life? Responsibility is another word for it. But yeah, I want to bring up this example because I feel like this is a good one. This is another sickness, and we could go on to other topics after, but basically the year of COVID, so 2020, okay, that year I fell into some of my old eating habits. I have a history of disordered eating, like bulimic type habits, and that bulimic stuff came up mostly from, binge eating, as just like it got into a cycle and a pattern when I was in college. Then when I got my ulcerative colitis and I got really sick with it and it got better, my stomach forgot how to keep food down. So I would automatically throw up if I had a big meal. But then it became something I would rely on and blah, blah, blah. It was a whole cycle. And I actually used to go and speak to a lot of sororities about this topic because there's so many people who are scared to look at that because they think they need to label it as an eating disorder. But disordered eating is, a thing we could just look at and start to lean into and pay attention and help ourselves shift it. But anyway, I started kind of getting more of those habits during COVID. It was terrible. It was like getting into a place where I, would go to bed at like midnight. I would be ordering food and eating at 11 p.m. and I'd wake up late and tired and swollen and drained. And then it would be a cycle, like terrible. And there was so much stress in my body. And like I started kind of weaning off of it. It was later that year, September. I took a little road trip to my family in Ohio. I'm in Raleigh now. And on my way back, I remember like I stopped in Asheville, North Carolina, and I ate dinner and I threw up. And I just remember like my stomach really hurting a little bit. And I thought it was my colitis flaring up. But it was like, it hurt pretty bad. And then I got home. I still worked a little bit that week. And I was like, I'm just going to monitor this because I've been through this. I don't want to go right to the hospital if I don't need to. And it came to be like Thursday. And I was like, I need to go to the hospital. I was getting fevers every day. And it felt different though than from my other flare-ups. I got to the hospital and it was so funny. Well, not funny, but funny. I was on the bed, and this like really hot nurse or doctor came to my bedside. I just remember he like looked down at me. He was like, your appendix is ruptured. And I just grabbed his arm. I was like, because I started picturing like them needing to cut a hole in my appendix ruptured. So when I threw up,
and you were like putting it off, which is so dangerous.
For a week. I know. But I didn't know. Like my pain tolerance must be super high at this point. But yeah, so it was ruptured. And at that point, they couldn't remove it because it was so infected. They had to just put drains in. Anyway, I had these drains for like 2 months. Like they actually never ended up removing it. And I think part of this is
that is crazy.
Yes, and the reason I'm sharing this is because that time period, one was a reset that I was praying for. I lost all that weight. But I was not doing anything. I was literally resting on my couch every day for so long. And that was the most peaceful I have ever felt. Like it was so amazing. It was perfect. Like I'm so grateful. And, that's why I also feel it healed my appendix. Like it literally closed. I didn't need to get it taken out after that. And something I did during that time, you would love this practice. So I was in the hospital bed or in my apartment and I couldn't dance. I couldn't move in the way that I was used to, but I could feel the music I wanted to move my energy to, like that I could feel I wanted to dance to. So I would turn on the song. I closed my eyes and I pictured myself on this stage. I could still see that stage. And I would just see myself and I would watch myself dancing almost as if I was dancing. I could feel it. I was watching myself, and I would let myself do crazy things that I can't even do, like crazy flips and this and that. And it was so meditative and so healing. And then after, my dancing practice deepened even more from doing that.
This is crazy and actually so cool because there is a whole study about like I think it was done at Harvard, and they did it with exercising like thumb strength or something silly. But what they did was, so they had someone just doing like weights or like doing like, strengthening exercises every single day. They had some people not doing anything at all. And then they had some people just visualizing the like strength training, and the visualization strength training had almost exactly the same results as the physical strength training, which it was slightly under, I feel like it was maybe like a 75%. But the fact that the mind was powerful enough to see the motion and build the strength through that exercise is fascinating to me, which is exactly what you just shared.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It's like the mind and the body connecting in one, because it's again like that, putting a crown on your head. Like the more you do that, the more your energy is learning what that feels like. So you're embodying it more. So like same with those like lifting weights, like you can literally feel like, if we even all closed our eyes now, pretend we were lifting up a huge rock, like we can feel how hard that would be. But like,
Yeah.
if you
Well,
keep
I
doing
even
it's
think too,
crazy.
like in Pilates, we use like a 2 pound weight a lot, like the little balls or the little weights. And people laugh, like, what are you doing with a 2 pound weight? But there's so much intention behind the movement, like, the contraction and the release, that it has the same effect as 20 pound weights, right? Like it's the intention, it's the visualization, it's like that slow and powerful movement or visualization that happens that is equally as powerful. So I love that. I love that you shared that. I also like, I don't want to go into this a lot, but I do want to bring this to your attention. If you're listening, that it also is true in the opposite way, right? So if we're visualizing ourselves in these horrible ways, if we're talking and thinking about ourselves in these negative ways, it will work in the same in the same power, right? Like it can be used for good, and it can also be used to be destructive. So just be mindful of that, and also decide how you want to see and think and believe about yourself.
Absolutely. I think it's something to not be scared of either. It's
Right.
just a
No.
natural thing as
Yep.
humans that's going to happen, but it's something just to be aware of.
Yeah.
That's all. That's cool.
Absolutely. No, that's so cool. So when you talk about, working with people, and something that I wrote down in my notes, I loved, but you said, because when you truly show up as the most authentic version of yourself, when you allow yourself to be in this world, explore what you want to explore, and be who you want to be, you finally feel free. You finally feel in control, but most importantly, you finally feel at peace.
Is that from my website? I think
That
actually
is from your,
it
that's from your
sounds
website.
familiar.
Yeah, it's from your website. And I thought that
Yeah.
was like such a beautiful message. And I think it does. I think you mentioned at the very beginning that it's peace that we're all searching for. And there's enough chaos in the world. There's enough chaos around us that if we can offer ourselves this internal peace by just knowing and loving, embracing, accepting ourselves, like what a gift is that?
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say about that.
Well, because
I think
so
I
powerful, right?
well, I think yeah, and I think what we kind of were talking about before is um we don't let ourselves go there, I think, because of judgment. And again, with the love versus fear, judgment is a fear state. It's like judgment of what will people think? What will people, even myself. So I grew up with naked art all over my house. My parents both have master's degrees in art. They didn't grow up just doing art, but like my dad only does art now, and my mom did art. I had like naked sculptures in my house. We were known as the naked house. And I grew up going to like art shows and all of
Yeah.
this exhibits from my dad and all of that kind of stuff. And I judged it when I was younger. And as I've gotten older, the body to me is so gorgeous. And it's still right now, like I'm layering this judgment because we live in a world, right? When we see a naked body or something like that, or like someone posting a picture with skin, we think of sex, we think of sexual, like we think of any of erotica, all these words. Even if you hear those words, it sounds like sexual. And there's just such gorgeous beauty. Like, it's such a fine line, but this is such a mission I have, and I can't explain why, but like art, the body's art. It's so beautiful. I mean, just like our shoulders, the way everything about it, the way the fingers can move, just everything is so gorgeous, and it should be so celebrated. And it's just like, how can I help contribute to making that line, like finding the bridge between that gap of like, it's sex and it's gorgeous and it should be appreciated and loved. And I think there's a time and a space for all of it. But yeah, I mean, that's even a judgment that I have had or had is like, what are people going to think if I post this photo, or what are people going to think of this or that? It's only becoming deeper and deeper. And that's with me allowing myself to go there. And I also think, knowing what your intention is with it.
Right. The intention I think is so big, and that's like a whole nother conversation. And I have these conversations a lot on my social media with teenage daughters, like if their belly shows, or, like if there's all these things, or the movement. And it's like the intention behind what it is that we're doing or how we're showing up is so important and so powerful. And your intention is not the same as everyone else's, right? And so to assume that others' intentions are one way is also a huge disservice that we do to other people. I also love the idea that there are 3 versions of all of us, and it's the way that we see ourselves, the way others see us, and the way we think others see us. And I think that the majority of decisions that we make as humans, natural, without being super intentional, is the place that from where we think, how we think other people see us. And there's no truth, or there's no factual truth in any of that, because we actually don't know how other people see us. We make up what we think how they see us, or their judgments. Like, you were embarrassed that your parents are artists and that they have these paintings, because what you're making up is that everyone thinks you're bad, or that your house is bad, or that it's embarrassing, or and there might have been some truth to that, but also that's where the fear came from. But there's really, the only truth is the way that we see ourselves. And the way other people see us, we have no control over, right? And so we should never try to make decisions or become connected or understood from there. But the only way that we can truly be the truest, most healthy, happiest versions of ourselves is that if we are willing to make decisions from the way that we see us without that outside influence.
Absolutely. That is such a good reminder for everyone, even myself. It's like, and that's a scary place to try and make decisions from what you want. You'll love this. So Elizabeth Gilbert, the writer of Eat, Pray, Love, also has a book called Big Magic. Have you read that? I love that book. And so she talks a lot about creativity. I came to see her speak. She came over to this area, and it was like a live podcast interview. And I love Elizabeth Gilbert. She's just so smart and so amazing. But she talked about this thing about staying in your lane. So like, imagine yourself driving on a highway, an expressway. And do you say expressway, by the way?
No.
That's like a Midwest thing. Okay. It's a Chicago thing, and there's like nowhere else. I never say highway. I only say expressway.
I think we say freeway. I mean, I have a highway in front of my house, and then there's like a freeway that's like the faster. And we do have an express lane where you have to have, so
I don't know what the expressway is.
Yeah,
I know
that's great. I love it.
Though, because people here say Beltline. I'm like, okay,
never
expressway.
Yes,
yeah.
Okay.
It's very Southern, but Anyway, so picturing yourself on this road and knowing, like trying to stay on that road as much as you can, because the exits, the doubts, the fears, the what are people going to
Yeah.
think, blah, 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 that's just moving you into an exit, into a ditch. Like every one of those exits are ditches. How can you just stay on the road and not go off those exits? That's exactly what it is like allowing yourself to go through what you know and what you want versus what other people are seeing. And that is an amazing visual to help stay on that course.
Yeah, that's so good. And I think that it comes a little bit easier to those of us who have a little bit more of like a free spirit and that desire to be ourselves. But I do think it's equally as important for people who like to be told what to do or who
Mm-hmm.
like to just, fit in this expectation lane. I do still also think it's really important for them to get to know themselves, right? Even if it feels really comfortable to be told what to do and to be told who you are and to just continue on that path because it feels safe and comfortable. I
Mm-hmm.
would also encourage those of you who can relate to that to push yourself a little bit to make sure that you are, going inward for those thoughts and the beliefs and the desires and the, way you see yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think there's power to every type of person, those who are free
Absolutely.
spirited, those who
Yep.
want the direction. That's just like honing in on your ability to do whatever you're doing. Some people need, like, I look at yoga teacher trainings. There's certain ones where they're like really specific, like, you
Mm,
got to do this, you got to do this. That's not for me at all. When I teach a yoga class, I've never made up a class in my life. Like, I have to just go in and let it flow through
yeah.
me.
Hmm.
But that's not for everyone. Like,
Right.
and I wouldn't be good at doing it the other way. Like, it's not to say you're bad or you're wrong if you want to be led, but like use it as your tool for yourself.
Yeah, that's great. I love this conversation. There's so many good
Mm.
takeaways here. What would
It
you
was
like? What?
so fun. I'm
It,
sad it's over.
I know it was so fun, and I think it's awesome to just know that there's so many people out there that we can connect with that have the same mission or this a similar mission or desire to really help women. Specifically for me, I'm specific to women mostly that I want them to feel more comfortable in themselves. I want them to trust themselves, to listen to themselves, to love themselves in this experience that they're having here in this life. One of the hardest things for me is to witness women hate the thing that's actually giving them the ability to be alive. And
Mm.
I saw that a lot growing up around me. It was a
Mhm.
message that I heard loud and clear that we should pick apart our bodies, that we should be, cover the body, keep it covered and hate the things about it that are wrong, look for the things that are wrong, always be on this like, look out to make sure that you're not gaining weight or that you're, like so many messages like that I
Mhm.
heard. And I think that it was just pattern of behavior, generation after generation. And so I have a lot of like compassion towards it. I'm not angry, but I am really, really grateful that through my life experience and through people around me, that I was given permission to love this tool that we have, to
Mhm.
embrace it and to feel connected to it. Because the more connected we are in body and spirit and mind and soul, the greater impact we can have in our lives, in our interaction with other people. And I just think that our greatest power lies when there is that ultimate connection.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's such a tool and it's such a that's why I love talking about food and all of these elements because when we are knowing what we're putting into our bodies too, it allows us to be more present and more here.
Mm.
And when we're more present and here, we're more lit up. And when we're more lit up, we are it's a domino effect. We're lighting up others, like this mission, right? Like I've never really had a mission. Like I just when I've thought about what's my mission or blah blah blah, like what's my business, like it was hard for me.
Mm.
But coming to realize that like just being myself, that is God's work. It's
Mm.
God's work for us to express ourselves and to be ourselves because God is putting us there, God, universe, whatever you want to believe in, whatever you
Yeah.
say, we are here to give that to others. And that is a gift that, you know, only we can give, like in the ways that we can give it. And that is God's work, truly, truly, truly.
Absolutely agree 100%. So one of the most important things to me in the way that we end this episode is this idea of fire in her heart, peace in her soul.
Mm-hmm.
And this was like an answer that was given to me when I was asking, like, what do these women need that I'm coaching? Like, what is it that they need? And that term came to my mind like so
Mm-hmm.
loud and so clear. And it was, fire in her heart and peace in her soul. And I think sometimes we can get so caught up in, this fire that is, we just have to grind and go and push. But I view it as this beautiful thing that makes us excited to be alive, that makes us feel alive, that we're passionate about, that we're connected to, and also that we are intentional about, protecting the peace of our soul. So not giving our soul all away or forgetting about the soul, and really letting those two things dance together. It's something I'm so passionate about. And so I would love to ask you the question, what is something that that is currently lighting your heart on fire?
Mm. Well, of course, dance, but I think I said it during this. Like, I just have this yearning to help people understand this feeling of themselves, like just really connecting with themselves. And with that is dance. But also, I know this is a multiple answer, but like writing has been really lighting me on fire lately. I've always loved writing, but words, writing, yeah, just everything with mm, feeling, and expressing it in whatever way that is.
I love that so much. And what is
Mm,
something that you do to protect the peace of your soul?
mm. Honestly, closing my eyes and coming back to me, and allowing myself to be still. Because that, I think as much as I love to dance and movement is so important, that's another thing I learned from my little appendix rupture journey is, stillness. There's so much peace in that, in just like really sitting and feeling this like feeling of love moving through us.
I love that. Closing your eyes and just being with yourself. I love that. So,
Mm-hmm.
so good. Okay. Where can the listeners find you?
Mm. All right. Well, you're going to have to link it since my
I
name
will
is
link it.
complicated, but
Yes.
Instagram is where I'm the most active. So it's my name, Caren DeCesaris, Caren. I do a lot of my movement stuff on there. I also post when I do events and things like that. I have a monthly call that I do for women, actually. It's an energy healing, energy clearing, and journaling call. So it's
So cool.
basically we go through like a clearing just to like recharge your batteries. And then I create a container where we can just literally write for like 5 or 10 minutes. So
Love
it's
that.
really nice. Um, yeah, that's the best place to find me. I am on TikTok. You can link that there.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's where you can find me.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and coming on and sharing your experiences,
Mm.
your knowledge, and I'm excited to continue learning from you. I hope that the listeners were able to get some good takeaways and some encouragement to really just reconnect with yourself.
Beautiful. Thank you for having me.